grateful to see all of you. Happy belated Thanksgiving, and to move into the holidays. Really grateful to be together in community as we're putting together this Giving Tuesday campaign and our end of year campaign. And yeah, it really means a lot. So just a quick flow of the day. We thought it'd be nice to start off with a quick, just kind of grounding meditation that Jen will lead us through. And then Cynthia's gonna be giving just a really quick presentation with a few slides about a little recap of where we've been the last couple of years and some highlights from this year, and then just a little preview into what we have planned for 2021 and why we are doing this fundraising, what we're fundraising for. Yeah, good morning. Hey, Ladina. And so from after that, I'm going to just we're just going to walk through how to create a campaign together. I'll do some just screen sharing and we'll just walk through it together. It's fairly simple, but it'll be a lot easier just to have the technical piece done together. And then at the end to wrap it up, Cal is going to share, we're putting together a little competition for the fundraiser for all of us. So she's going to share some details about that. So Jen, why don't I turn it over to you and we can get started. Good morning, everyone.
Great. Hi, everyone. Thanks for spending your morning with us before your busy days. Really appreciate it. And it's nice to see everyone's face. I think with everyone here, I am fairly certain that everyone here has some sort of practice. And so I thought it would be nice to just do a little bit of guided, but then also some silent time for meditation today, which we don't do a lot of sometimes. So just a short meditation to get us all grounded. So just inviting you to find yourself in a comfortable position. And wherever you are, feel yourself grounding. So maybe your feet or maybe your knees are the closest thing to the ground. Just maybe feeling like roots are displacing into the ground from you. And then beginning to cultivate the observer. Maybe observing your breath. Where does an inhale turn into an exhale? Where does an exhale turn into an inhale? And just noticing any thoughts that may come into your mind and inviting them in this moment to float through on a cloud. Just keep moving. And finding ourselves bringing our awareness back to our breath in each moment. And just allow yourself to settle in. And if you find your mind somewhere else, inviting it to come back. Focus on your breath or the present. Always gently, like correcting a puppy. And just inviting you to bring some awareness back into the room that you're in and the space that you're in. Maybe noticing the sounds around you or the feeling of your feet on the ground or your legs on your chair. And gently, as you're ready, inviting you, if they're closed, to open your eyes. Thanks, everyone, for taking a moment this morning. It sure is nice to meditate with a group of such amazing people.
Thank you so much, Jen. So I wanted to just first of all thank all of you for all of your amazing work. As long as I've been in this organization, and probably back to 2017 when we started, you guys have been incredible. And being in meditation with you guys is awesome, and being in disaster with you guys is awesome. So I'm going to share my screen really quick and just go through kind of a recap of where we've been this year, and some stats about where we started from. And so can you guys all see my screen? Perfect. So if we look at our organization this year, we've added Kala, who is our development and communications manager. And I'll just say, from my perspective, she has just blown my mind with the amount of knowledge and experience she has in nonprofits and really in disaster. So that has been an incredible addition to the team, and I'm really looking forward to all that she's going to bring in the next years to come. So if we look at kind of the timeline of IHAN starting in 2017, looking over that data was crazy. I couldn't believe the amount of people that were treated in that short amount of time, with so many providers. And then the Thomas Fire in Ventura, the 2018 Paradise Fire, 2019, which I felt like really provided us with a lot of growth potential as far as the amount of clinics that we had in different sites. And then really pivoting in 2020 with COVID, and really kind of shifting our thoughts around only responding to fires. And as most of you know, we're involved in the virtual series that we put on and the virtual homeopathic clinics that we did online. That was incredible. We had so many people who tuned in and watched those series. So such a new thing for IHAN, but really exciting. And then 2020, unfortunately, started out really early with fire season. We responded to the CZU fire in Santa Cruz, the Glass Fire, and then did our first real recovery clinics in Paradise, so the 2-year anniversary of the Camp Fire. And then just looking at the stats for that, you know, I feel like it was a really difficult year for us as far as response goes because of COVID, because the congregate sheltering wasn't happening, things weren't as organized as they've been previously. And so we really had to quickly shift the way that we've done disaster response in the past interesting that we kind of went back to the beginning and did some grassroots when we were unable to get into the shelters the way that we've been doing that. Really, really quickly put together just kind of parking lot responses, and within 3 hours of deciding we were going to do that, had a location. We had volunteers who were having to drive up to 3 hours to get to that location, and literally within 3 hours of deciding we were going to do that, we were seeing clients. So that's pretty incredible. It says a lot about our volunteers and how dedicated they are to what we do, but it also says a lot about people and they're seeking this type of treatment, because we had people just from social media who found us for treatment that quickly. So that's pretty incredible. And then again, you know, with this new focus on recovery, which is really what IHAN is about. It's about long-term resilience. And so doing our most recent response in Paradise on the 2-year anniversary of the campfire was really powerful. You know, seeing people at a different stage of trauma based on their disaster 2 years ago was really interesting to see. The difference in the way that they responded to treatments and the way that they were able to communicate about their experience was really, really a great response. So if we look at 2020 in review, again, you know, starting educational series online because of COVID, and then, you know, pivoting and doing actual clinics online in Zoom, putting practitioners in Zoom rooms with clients, I felt like worked out really, really well. And then responding to the CZU complex fire at multiple locations, the glass fire, transitioning into the LAC, which is the resource center after a fire. So a little bit different than our traditional in-shelter response. And then our campfire recovery clinic. We've also started some Latinx farm worker clinics in Sonoma County in collaboration with the Botanical Bus, and starting to do more specific first responder clinics. These are just some cool pictures that we had from our educational series. They were really informative, and we got some really great response from the educational information that was shared in those. And then just some recap of the 2020 fire season. You know, incredibly devastating this year. I don't know that it's going to get any better in the upcoming years. It's unfortunate, but our needs are going to be bigger than ever in the near future. Not only for disaster around fire, but because people are already suffering from the effects of COVID and the pandemic in general. I just love, you know, I'd love to hear at the end of this presentation if anybody wants to share some of their favorite stories that they've collected over their time with IHAN, because that's really the moving part about this work, is hearing from people how they're feeling before we treat them versus how they're feeling after. With the campfire recovery clinic specifically, it was really interesting where we were positioned for that clinic was actually on a road that was leading into town, and some of those people who were driving in from for that anniversary event hadn't been back in 2 years. And a lot of them came back after they'd been into Paradise to kind of look around after they hadn't been back in so long, and said they weren't really sure how they were going to react seeing that, but having been treated by us first made it a really healing experience. So, you know, it's really difficult to explain what it's like to be part of that. But I would love to hear from you guys at the end what some of your favorite stories are. So these are our 2021 goals. Again, the first responder long-term care program, the Latinx farm worker clinics, the regional recovery programs, which we want to expand into Sonoma, Butte, and Santa Cruz counties. And then to continue our acute fire response as we have traditionally in the past. And then adding in mind-body medicine, which is really one of the pieces that I feel like is going to really complete the modalities that we offer. And then mental health, which is not something that we have really offered in IHAN, because historically we've been inside the Red Cross shelters, which have their own mental health providers. So we've always just worked hand in hand with them. This year really opened our eyes to the idea that we may not always be in a Red Cross shelter. We may be in a parking lot somewhere. We may be at a resource center. And so having mental health in the IHAN team is really critical if that's absent in the location that we're at. So that is my presentation. I'll go ahead and stop sharing. I would love to hear if anybody just really quickly has a story about somebody that they worked with that they want to share.
I can share about working with somebody who in Santa Cruz when we were in the parking lot, and it was a person who was not very well resourced. And I was given a heads up, Cynthia, I think by you or somebody on the team prior to that, you know, kind of like communicating with your eyes, let's be really careful and cautious with this person, you know, she needs help. And so, but we spent some time together, you know, she did not take her remedy right there with me, but we did spend a lot of time talking and with her sharing about what she's been through. And I think the frustration she was having over that she shared with me about the stereotype reaction that you get from people when you've had to evacuate or when you didn't lose everything, but your whole life has been in upheaval. She was so angry and frustrated with all the responses she was getting from the outside world around like, well, you're going to be able to, you know, you're alive and you're going to be able to get out of this. And she was so upset and unable to meet any of that. And so she was just really, really dysregulated. And I think by the time, you know, that we finished talking, she felt a lot better. And she said she shared that with me. And she just said, I appreciate you so much. I appreciate that you guys are here. I didn't really know what to expect because I was a little bit of afraid of like tons of people being there. And she said it was really nice that this is a really calm place, you know, that we can come in and really get some help. So that was one that it opened my eyes too, to like, wow, you know, what these people are really facing. That was great.
I want to share one just really quickly that I think, you know, I've been part of like probably 6 or 7 responses now. And the one that really affected me the most was a woman in Petaluma, and she was in a wheelchair. It was clear she'd been in a wheelchair her entire life, or at least her adult life. And she was pretty disfigured in the wheelchair and very angry. You could tell that people were avoiding being around her. She was kind of off to herself. I had been going around the shelter to just explain what we were doing to see if people were interested in treatment. And I went to her and said, you know, are you interested? And she said, no, I'm not. There's no way I could do that. I don't know what you could do for me because I can't get out of my wheelchair. And I don't know what kind of treatment you could do while I'm in the wheelchair. And I just said, okay, you know, I totally honor that. And maybe you could come over with me and just see what we're doing. And, you know, maybe you'd be interested. And she wasn't interested, and she, you know, told me no way. And a little bit later, she kind of wheeled over there and she was checking it out. And at one point she decided she'd give it a shot. You know, I said, if anything, we can rub your shoulders or something, just make you feel a little bit better. And the next thing I knew, Dr. Holder was undoing her wheelchair, undoing the seatbelt, picked her up out of the wheelchair, put her on the table. You could tell she was a little bit tense and a little bit scared. And by the end, it was like she melted onto the table. You know, she came up and her face was completely different. And he picked her up and put her back in the wheelchair, and she was just crying. She was crying with just so much gratitude. And I could just tell that nobody'd been able to break through that wall probably in years, despite like the disaster and whatever else, but just the way that she was so protected in life. And she was so moved and just felt so much love. And she said, like, nobody's ever cared for me like that before. And I saw her 2 days later in the shelter, and she was completely different. She was engaging with the other people. You know, I saw her smiling. She said, thank you. And that just, I mean, those kinds of situations are what make me continue to come back and serve with IHAN, because, you know, that changed her life. That wasn't just a disaster response. That changed her whole life. So just wanted to share that one.
Oh, somebody's cutting onions in my house. How rude. I'm not a practitioner, and I've only been at one IHAN clinic, but I can say that one will inform everything I do from here on out. And I don't just mean my work with IHAN. Later in the day, we had a gentleman come in with his dog, Max and Romeo, and he wanted to get some treatments, but the dog was a little upset, just wanted to be near his person, and I offered to hold it. So that gave me
You're muted.
Oh no. Sorry.
Technical difficulties.
Now? Can you hear me now? Okay. I don't know where I left off at that point, but it gave me the opportunity to talk with Max, because I was keeping an eye on his admittedly very adorable dog. And at first he just wanted to talk about things in his life. And it reminded me a lot of your story, Cynthia, where there are these walls. I come from hardy Lake County mountain folk as well, and they don't like to talk about their problems either, and they certainly didn't during Valley Fire. And I didn't realize at that time that it was a symptom of acute trauma. It might not be the time to talk until your nervous system calms a little bit. So with each treatment that Max had, he wanted to talk a little bit more. And since I had his dog, we had a reason to talk quite a bit. And he started talking about a lot of things, not just the hardships due to the fire, but hardships in general. And you could see when he came in that he had a lot of emotionality sitting behind his eyes, just waiting to actually be expressed, but very tightly reined in. You could see it not in a physical or physiological outpouring, but you could see him relaxing a little bit, even though it was hard to talk about these things. And I was not a part of his treatment. I was simply a witness. But I'm going to think very profoundly about that for a very long time. And I think it'll probably be years before the very precise details of that experience actually fade at all.
Thanks, Kala. Jenny, do you want to walk us through how to make a campaign?
Yeah, let me go to the screen share. Okay. Let's see. All right, can you guys see my screen? Great. So I was just going to do a quick little walkthrough, conscious of our time. I know that we said we were going to end at 8:30, so thanks for sticking with us. If you've got a few extra minutes, and then if you have to go, then we can also send you the recording of this, and I can send you some links for how to set up the campaign. And so, I'm just going to walk everyone through it real quick. So to get to setting up a campaign on your own, I'll invite you to go to our website. And then if you click on the support button, you'll see the link for how to make a donation. And so if you click on that, it will take you to our end of year campaign, which Giving Tuesday is a part of. And there's two options, to make a donation or to become a fundraiser. We've got Kala and Jen have already set up their campaigns, so it'll show here all of us that are participating in this with each of our individual campaigns. It's all combined with our Giving Tuesday and end of year campaigns. So from there, you can click on Become a Fundraiser. You can sign up through Facebook if you like. You can link your picture and your information through that. Or if you prefer, you can sign up through your email. And I mentioned in my email yesterday, but for all of you, I can send photos of you personally, in your IHAN t-shirt at the IHAN clinics that you can include in your campaign if that's something that you would be interested in. And then once you sign up, this is your opportunity to set up your campaign however you like. And so you can do a campaign title. As you can see, if you don't fill it out, it'll just be listed as your name. So something that's personal for you. That's something that I think is really powerful about these peer-to-peer campaigns is, this is your story. IHAN is a collection of all of us. I mean, IHAN would not be possible without each and every one of you. And so your individual stories, your experiences volunteering, you're like the stories that everyone was sharing after Cynthia gave her presentation, that is what's compelling to people, so we can share things with you about like, oh, here's the technicality of what we do, but I think what people are most interested in is just your personal story. So the more personal you can make this, I think the more engaging. And then from here, you can just set a goal. Our fundraising goal total for the year-end campaign is $20,500, which Cal has put together as it's a half a cent for every acre that's been burned in California, up to the point where we put that calculation together. And so just getting that story out, that this has been an unprecedented year. I mean, 2020, beyond what's been happening with COVID and everything else that has happened this year, and here in California, it's been an incredibly unprecedented fire season. And like Cynthia mentioned, I don't think any of us think that this is going to be getting any better with the seasons coming up. I mean, we're in the beginning of what is the climate crisis, and us here in California, we are living on the front lines of the climate crisis. And so being able to share with your friends and your community and your patients even the difference integrative health and medicine can make for communities that are deeply impacted by the climate crisis on the front lines. So this is your opportunity here just to share your story, to share something that happened at one of the clinics or why you're excited to be involved with IHAN. And then from there so I'll just kind of see what happens from here. And you have to confirm you're not a robot. And so from there, it looks like it didn't do anything actually, but from there it will have created your campaign. And different ways to share it, if you're on Facebook, what we've learned as a trick for Facebook is instead of just directly sharing the link for this campaign on your Facebook page, the algorithm for Facebook actually doesn't highlight sharing other websites as much as it does if you're just sharing a photograph. And so what we did when we were doing the peer-to-peer campaigns earlier this fire season is we would take a picture of either ourselves or something to do with IHAN and the clinics, post that on our page, and then write a little description of what the campaign is, why it means something to us, and then in the comments actually put the link to the campaign, so people from there can click and learn how to get involved and engaged with them. And so that was something that we found actually really successful. The peer-to-peer campaigns we did earlier this year were the most successful we've ever done. And I think that kind of tapping into that algorithm was a big helpful part. Emails out to either your family, friends, or patients if you feel comfortable with that. I'll send everyone an email that Kala put together of a sample for what an email to some of your patients could look like. Just to have some templates to be working with. And I was going to put it in the comments, but I think it'll just be easier for me to send you all a link to having some of that formatted. So any questions about putting this campaign together, or how to share it, or any of the other technical pieces?
Yeah, I think my main question was just whether you prefer we sign up through Facebook or not. And it sounds like signing up not through Facebook, but then going and sharing with a photo on Facebook is probably a little better, maybe. I don't know what the difference is, but I know that Facebook also probably has it seems like they're trying to siphon off a portion of the Giving Tuesday. I don't know. There's different ways to look at that, but they're trying to get people to do their Giving Tuesday through Facebook official campaigns, and then I think they take a percentage of those donations. But maybe that's a good way to do it. I don't know.
Facebook does not take a portion of Giving Tuesday donations. I believe they do take a very, very small amount of Facebook fundraising campaigns. However, the difference between doing a Facebook campaign and doing a peer-to-peer campaign through our website is that all the donations that you do if you sign up through the IHAN campaign will then go towards that beautiful goal, and we'll see it get closer and closer to the finish line. And that can be a nice, wonderful feeling of accomplishment.
Also, I just want to mention, if you have a business page or a personal page, because of the algorithm, a lot of people won't see your post. So when I share something, I either share it in one of my private groups, because groups will see every single post that you make, or I will send the link in a messenger where I say, hey, the nonprofit that I work with is doing this campaign. This is why I'm sending you the link. So it's a little bit more personal. And you can copy paste those personal messages, but then it gives a little bit of background around why they're getting it, and it makes sure that the person actually sees what you're sending. Whereas a business page, only about 3% of your people will see it, and a little bit more than that on a personal page.
I have a quick logistical question. So if I go through all of the email stuff, because I don't do social media, what does that look like on my end? Does it give me just a link and I can write a kind of a group BCC email to folks, and there's a link just saying, go check this out, basically?
Exactly.
Okay.
Any other questions before I go through some fun stuff? Nope. Okay, great. Well, I am Kala, and I love fundraising. And for a lot of people, I get the look of, why? My answer is this. Fundraising can often get a really bad rap because we feel like we're imposing on people. But something very important I learned in grad school was there was a massive study done with tens of thousands of participants to find out why people give. It was a huge study, and over 70% of people said that they give because they were asked. And the reason why I'm so excited about fundraising is because I see it as finding people who are passionate about the things I'm passionate about, and then giving them the means to be the change they want to be in the world. So if you feel uncomfortable about asking, maybe think about the people who already kind of see things the way you do and have the same values and have the same priorities, and have maybe talked to you about, man, this fire season is just awful. What can we do about it? Those are definitely the people that you want to talk to. If there are people you think won't necessarily understand where you're coming from, don't worry about it. That's not a fight you need to face today. All we're doing is getting together the community that already wants to do something. So I am very excited about this campaign. And yes, as was said, it's a half penny for every acre burned in California up to about a month ago. However, that's not one of the reasons why we're trying to raise that particular amount of money. We're trying to raise that particular amount of money because simply we need it. COVID has been devastating in terms of, well, the entire planet, the economy, people's mental health. There's more need than ever and less resources than ever. So this is when we absolutely need our communities to rally together for the people who are hurting and can't otherwise get the help that they need to stop hurting and to grow resilient again. We've all been through traumas in our life, and we all know how important it was to have somebody around who gets it. Now that's the emotional side of this. There's also a bit of a goodie bag incentive. For those of you who just really feel like you have a community that you can rally to this, for every peer-to-peer fundraiser that raises more than $250 before New Year's Eve, you will get a basket of traditional medicinals tea. I believe there are 5 in the basket, and one of these beautiful IHAN Yeti mugs, which are fantastic. They keep cold things cold and hot things hot, and they're beautiful. I absolutely love this mug. So you can keep that, team captains, you can keep that for yourself. You can share it. You can, if you absolutely feel like it, make it sound like you picked that basket and that Yeti mug out specifically for someone. Go, oh yeah, no, I just thought of you. It's completely up to you what you do with it. But it is a wonderful incentive, and you can let other people know if they want to get involved. They will automatically be entered if their peer-to-peer campaign raises $250. We wanted to make it a little bit smaller because asking 10 people to donate $25 is a lot easier ask than asking somebody to just give $250 outright. And plus, anybody who has this from then on out can remind themselves that they are part of the solution. They can see this every day and know that they are making a difference in people's lives. And I think that's really incredible. And I have to say, just as a personal note, I have never felt so much meaning in my life and so much support and so much motivation as I have being an IHAN. It feels like I'm the heroine at the end of the movie who's walking off into the sunrise as the motivational music is playing and the credits are about to roll. So I would not have that without all of you. And we will not be able to have that for other people who really need that support without your support. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Sorry that I dropped off for a little bit. My internet's been a little funky. Any questions? Any cheering comment? Like, how do we move into this day as we, there's a lot of activity on social media today with Giving Tuesday, and so, I think I'll be starting my campaign today and sharing it on social media and email, and then just continue it throughout the month, and so if you have any questions or, we're so lucky to have Kala with all of her experience in fundraising, and if you need any tips on how to ask, she's a great resource. Please reach out to her. We're really, really lucky to have her as a part of our team. So, and we're really, really lucky to have all of you, to have you be a part of this team as well. I mean, it's truly incredible to see how much we've grown, and I love seeing the slides that Cynthia put together of how we have grown throughout these years, and we'll continue to be growing as the need for us is really continuing to grow as well. So thank you so much for joining us today and for being a part of IHAN and for helping us with this campaign. It truly means the world to us. So, anyone else have any final thoughts or comments or questions?